It has now officially been 17 years of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively, at least. I've actually been playing the game in general for about 20 years. What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Avery here. A bit of a different video today. For one thing, it's 78 degrees here in Florida where I live, and it's New Year's Eve. So, Happy New Year if it's 2025 by the time you see this video. But I want to make a bit of a different video today on the cusp of the new year, because December every year marks another year that I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For those of you who don't know, it was in December I went to my first locals 2 weeks before the fusion deck was changed to the name of the extra deck, and we got Synchro Monsters with Duelist Genesis and the whole 9 yards. But I want to make a video today reflecting on the 17 years that I played this game and all the things that I've seen change. And I've really enjoyed my time with the game, right? I mean, I'm sure some people will say, well, Avery, you've never gotten a top 8 finish at a regional. You never got in first place. You never day 2 to YCS, all these things. Whenever you don't go to a lot of YCSs because they're not nearby you, it's hard to do that, number one. Number two, I had 2 10th place finishes back-to-back last year, actually, with Centurion and Tenpai Kashtira, and those would have been top 8s if not everybody and their mama got a bunch of draws in the last round of the regional. So either way, I'm very happy with how I've performed throughout my years. I wish it would be more, but I mean, if I went to 50 YCSs in a year, I'm bound to make day 2 or top 1 of them. But whenever you only go to 1 in like every 5 or 6 years, it's going to be hard to do that. But if you like this kind of content, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Destroy the boo-boo stain on that one last time, right? So, you guys, I've been doing a lot of reflecting, and it's so weird to see how far this game has come from when I first started playing. And I think I've told the story on the channel before, but I know that I have a lot of new people on the channel that have subscribed throughout the years. But basically the way that I started off with the game, and the only reason why I know this story practically now is because my dad has reminded me of it several times throughout the years, because I've been playing the game for so long and I enjoy it. It's almost impossible to remember how it all started. But as I just said, I grew up in Florida, and my mom back in the day, we're talking when I was like 7 years old, so we're talking 21 years ago, I'm 28 now. My mom back in the day, she was trying to get her doctorate degree, and so she went to a college in Miami called Barry University. And so while she was down there, my dad and I happened to go on a trip with her one time to go down. Sometimes we'd go, sometimes we wouldn't. She'd be down there for a week at a time, blah, blah, blah. And we're sitting in the hotel room, and my dad's flipping through the channels, and we come across Yu-Gi-Oh! Couldn't tell you what episode it was. It may have been episode 1, where Yugi beats Kaiba with Exodia, the whole thing. It was obviously a Duelist Kingdom episode. I couldn't tell you what it was. But my dad comes across it, and he's like, yo, this seems pretty cool. We start watching it, and we just fall in love with the show. We're like, this is really cool. Fast forward a couple months later, I'm with my dad in Walmart. My dad says, Avery, look, they've got that Yu-Gi-Oh! Thing that we saw on TV. These things are real cards. Picked up 2 starter decks. I couldn't tell you if it was Yugi and Kaiba or 2 Yugi ones, whatever it was. I don't think I had a Blue Eyes growing up, so it must have been 2 Yugi starter decks. And we went home and we started playing. And of course, we did the Duelist Kingdom rules. I summoned Claw Reacher. Claw Reacher can snatch your monster like a change of heart or something, you know what I mean? And so we did that for a while, and then I still knew about the game, but I wasn't playing every day. And then I remember a buddy of mine, now we're in 2nd grade, I'm 8 years old, a buddy of mine played Yu-Gi-Oh! And so he came over to my house, he had his cards, we started playing, and I remember my dad would keep track of life points for both of us. And I was like, this is really cool, like getting into the game. I remember my mom didn't want me to get into it because she thought it was demonic, like apparently a lot of moms back in the day thought. But then she's like, well, it'll help him with his math, so let's do that, because my ass always struggled with fucking math. And so started playing the game, got into it a little bit more, and then one day my dad and I were in Books A Million, and I know I have a lot of European viewers, and I don't think Books A Million is really that much of a thing anymore, and I doubt it's a thing in Europe, but basically it's like a Barnes & Noble, right? Like any kind of bookstore. So we go in, and we see, surprisingly, not a lot of fat-ass dudes who are insulin resistant sitting on the floor playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was in like the magazine manga department of like Books A Million right when you walked in, but like not every dude was fat neckbeards. Like that was actually crazy to see. I'm like, oh my god, like now you look at it, like you walk into a regional and almost all the dudes in there are insulin resistant. Side story, remember I went to a regional in Orlando, Florida, and there was a guy who was jack and buff AF, and he had a giant like almost like a round container of protein powder sitting on the frickin' table. I guess that was his way of intimidating his opponent, like a big old thing of protein powder sitting there. He's going to go to the gym afterwards, or if he 2-0'd his opponent, he can go to the gym because he had so much time on his hands. That was really funny. I haven't seen that dude since that regional. He must have quit the game or he got DQ'd for having protein powder on the table. I don't know. But community was so different back then, right? I mean, there was some dudes sitting on the floor playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And I remember it was actually someone I met who I'm still friends with to this day. Shout out to my buddy Greg. He had, I don't know if it was like a hobby league tournament thing, because remember back in the day, Upper Deck kind of like ran all the Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments, right? And so it was something where like if you completed a challenge or something, you'd go hand it to my buddy Greg and he would like sign it or stamp it. I don't know what you would get if you completed all the challenges in this little booklet thing. Like maybe you got a card or something. But I remember he would hand out cards like left and right to people. Like if I completed a challenge or something, he'd stamp it or initial it and then like give me a card or something. And I remember he gave me a card in particular. It was Last Day of Witch, after this kid playing Exodia apparently cheated me, because my dad comes up to me after I lost and he goes, yeah, that kid cheated you. And I got pissed. I'm like, what the hell? I'm gonna go tell Greg. And Dad's like, no, Avery, like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm like, no, it is a big deal. I got cheated. I remember I went up using my little squeaker voice and like a tattletale accent going, excuse me, Mr. Greg, that kid cheated me. Like in that exact tone. And he's like, oh, really? Oh, okay, here you go, have a card. And it was Last Day of Witch. Like, I still remember that. It was hilarious. And then I remember playing Greg, and it was in Diamond Dude Turbo format. Because I remember he was summoning Cyber Dragon, summoning Diamond Dude, dumping off the Destiny draw, next turn drawing 2 cards. Yeah, that was like considered a combo back in the day, ladies and gentlemen. Normal summoning Diamond Dude, using the effect, hoping that you milled off the top your Destiny draw. And the way that Diamond Dude is ruled is that you don't have to pay the cost. So like if you hit Destiny draw, when your next turn rolls around, you can activate the Destiny draw and draw 2 cards. You don't have to pitch a Destiny hero. It was really broken for the time. Like, you talk about getting 2 free cards. Now that's going to get Ash Blossom. You're going to be crapping all over the venue floor. Or in this case, the Books A Million floor. But I remember after some time went by, the Books A Million people actually kicked everybody out. I guess because they were hogging up the space and not buying anything. Which, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are going to be buying cards. They're not going to be buying books and magazines and, you know, the latest Vanity Fair magazine or what the fuck ever they have nowadays. But we ended up like not going after a while, and then now I'm 12 years old, like 11 or 12 years old. I'm in 6th grade now. A couple years have gone by because I started doing that whole Yu-Gi-Oh! Thing when I was in like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade or so. So a little bit of time goes by, and then we actually see Greg at the Books A Million again as we're walking through, and he says, hey, there's this card shop that opened up. It's called, oh god, I just had the name in my head, Game Room. Now he's Dan Sports Cards and Games. Shout out to Dan Sports Cards and Games in Jacksonville, Florida. But his original location was called Game Room. Greg said, hey, come on out. Like, we have locals there every Saturday, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I remember at my first locals, I was 2 wins and 1 loss out of 4 rounds. And I remember they'd take forever to start up those rounds. So by the time it was going to be the 4th round, they were taking too long. I said, Dad, I'm tired. I want to go home. So I ended up dropping. I was 2-1. I probably would have finished 2-2. I doubt my first locals I would have finished 3-1. But if I did, that would have been cool. And then after that, I went the next week, went 2 wins, 2 losses. And then I just started going time after time. And I was hooked. Absolutely hooked. And from there, I started getting more and more competitive. So that's why I say that it's been 17 years, because really my competitiveness started when I went to locals, which is when I was 12 years old. And now this December marks 17 years. So now going into the new year, I'll be 29. So that's technically 17 years, because I'm sure someone's going to do the math and say 28 minus 12 is 16. So yeah, that's how all that works out. I remember going to my first regional in Jacksonville, Florida. Is at like a Hilton hotel. I went 4 wins and 4 losses with like a plant deck playing Gigaplant, Lone Fire, Titanial. I scrubbed out, but it was my first region. Actually, no, that's not true. That was like my 2nd or 3rd regional where I went 4 and 4 playing plants. My first regional, as a plane goes over my head, my first regional was actually at a place called War Dogs in Orlando, Florida, where I played a Monarch deck. And I think I went like 4 and 4 or something. I remember my last round opponent was a soul-absorbing Bone Tower deck where he was trying to mill me out. And I beat him after like, I think 3 games or something. I remember going to that regional. I had to keep track of life points myself because my dad used to help me side deck at like locals and stuff and keep track of life points and whatever. So I had to do all that myself. You know, I was a young kid at the time. And now we get to today where I'm spending $1,200 on Fiendsmith Rysdal and wondering why my wallet's crying. But damn, what a time. I can't explain. I can't sit here for hours on end and describe the emotional roller coaster that has been this game, because there's been a lot of ups and there's been a lot of downs, and I've made a lot of great friends, and definitely the positive interactions I've had have outweighed the negative, whether it's been, you know, dudes thinking they've got the biggest beaver warrior in the room, if you catch my drift, when it comes to, you know, playing a children's card game, having a big ego, you know, calling a kid a homophobic slur, and then he goes home crying to his parents. And, you know, I've seen some shit. I would definitely say I've seen a lot more crap than what's actually happened to me. But there has been some douchebags in the community. And you know what? At the end of the day, that's going to happen because it's the human race. Thank God that I have been in a position where my local Jacksonville, Florida Yu-Gi-Oh community has only gotten better over the years compared to it getting worse. Like, it's only gotten better over the years, and you don't have that toxicity. You know, there's always going to be that one guy or those couple of people in a community who are maybe toxic, that are kind of frowned upon in the community. But that doesn't change the fact that overall the community can be positive. You know, if the positivity is, you know, shining brighter than the negativity, that's what matters. That's what's more important. And there's ways to handle the negativity and stuff. You know, you offer people, I don't know, an $80 air fryer, and all of a sudden they're interested in going to your event. I still think that's hilarious. Like I said in my video the other day, I think that was more a core TCG thing than a Konami thing. Either way, it's idiotic. You don't give out $80 air fryers you can buy on Costco. Like, it's ridiculous. But I have really enjoyed playing this game. I still enjoy playing this game. You know, one day I'll quit the game, you know, whether it's because life gets in the way or I get into my 30s and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm old. I need to have a family and settle down. I mean, I've been single for 3 years, so the only thing I really got going on is playing the game. But I've made great friends, I've made great memories, and I've only gotten better at the game as the years have gone by. Thank God. You know, I never thought I'd get 2 10th place back-to-back finishes with Centurion and then Kashtira Tenpai, and no one knew what my Kashtira Tenpai thing was because they weren't expecting cash cards. I remember getting 18th place with Trickstar. I actually took Team Sam's build, and I was playing like chain summoning and stuff, and Droll unlocking people with Droll and Reincarnation, and that shit was hilarious. And it was in Zodiac Tier 0 format, I remember too. And I've really enjoyed my time with this game. I'm still enjoying my time with this game, but I'm looking forward to the new year. I'm looking forward to seeing what has in store for Yu-Gi-Oh! And what the game's gonna become. I'm sure we'll maybe even get more mulch armies, but whatever the case may be, I'm sitting here with a channel of almost 1,600 subscribers, hopefully soon to be 2,000. And I couldn't feel more grateful, couldn't feel more blessed. And, you know, one day maybe I'll be able to show my future daughter, because that's what I want to have one day, as a daughter. I'll be able to show her these videos and say, hey, look, this is what your dad did growing up. I was a little bit older than you, or I was your age, whatever. I was doing this happy horse shit. Guys, thanks for watching. I love you very much. I'll speak with you again very, very soon.